This is basically Alan's baby. We have a lot to talk about next week at the regular board meeting. But Glenn has told me that he's going to be ready to send out the information for the House of Delegates meeting, but he only has my report and Ed's report. And we'll need a few more than that. And that has to go on when, Glenn?
I
To be
mean,
legal?
I think it's 30 days before. So isn't that that's going to be
2 days from now, right?
Yeah. But if we get a preponderance, it's good. I can send it out, and I send it full, and the folder gets updated over time. So if you want to send it an early one and then fix it, revise it, that works too.
As you know, I haven't been big on written reports. We certainly haven't asked for any during regular meetings that we've been having, but we do have to have something for the House of Delegates. So put your name on a piece of paper and say, I got nothing, if that's the story. But
mine will be out. Mine will be out tonight or tomorrow morning with waiting for one more division manager. All the others, excellent reports, and that will all be included.
Okay. All right, let's get to the matter at hand. Alan, I turn it over to you.
Okay, so as promised, I sent out 11 days ago now a note to all of the registered quartets and chapters in the district. Basically, those of you who didn't get one because you're not one of those people, it basically said we were going to be reviewing the decisions on the fall convention and that we needed their input. I laid out for them the protocols that we had talked about at our last meeting so that they understood what we would be as a minimum looking at if we did hold a convention. And I asked them to let me know, one, if they normally compete, two, if their intention at this point in time was to compete this fall. I asked them if the answer to that was no, would they just briefly tell me why? And then the fourth thing I asked them was what could happen that would make you, if you said no, what would happen that would make you change your mind? So first of all, there are 76 registered quartets in the district. I got responses from, and whoops, crap. I got responses from 22 of them. Of those 22, 12 said they would be there to compete. There were 2 that said no that I thought initially might be yes. And that's Joyride, which is a mixed quartet, and Square Root of 16, which is a quartet out of Danbury, that said no. Of the ones that said yes, there are 2 or 3 mixed quartets, and the rest are men's quartets. So I guess 22 out of 76 is probably a pretty good response to a survey. I did take a look at who I didn't hear from that had competed recently, and out of those, there are 9 quartets that I thought just couldn't get off their duff to respond to the survey and probably would come. Mostly because it appeared to me at least that their choruses had all agreed to come. So I figured that they would probably be there anyway. So if we get those 9 and we have the other 12, that would be, let's say, roughly 20 quartets. So that's where we are. Now, some of the reasons, just so we all know, some of the reasons why some of them said no, there were at least, there were 2 that said no, and it was because of COVID issues. One of those I didn't think would, well, I knew wouldn't compete anyway because it's a Canadian quartet. 1, 2, four. Four indicated that they would not compete because they didn't feel they had enough time to rehearse because of their lack of rehearsal up to this point. The other ones, High Voltage, for example, out of Burlington, just said they've got no interest in competing anymore, which I understand. They haven't competed for a while. And again, one of the quartets that said lack of time was another Canadian quartet. So we didn't expect them anyway. So I thought it was pretty good. And then I asked, was interesting, what could happen that might change their mind? And 1, 2, 3 of the 6 responses I got was that if everybody was vaccinated, they might change their mind. Okay.
Everybody meaning the audience or other competitors?
Everybody attending.
Okay.
Okay. So that's the quartet. Now, my guess is from that, just from what I saw with choruses that had signed up, is that we would probably get out of all of those quartets somewhere around 20 to 25 more convention attendees than we would from the choruses. There's just so many of those people in those quartets that belong to choruses. Also point out that got no response from any, well, obviously nobody from Sunrise would come. Also got no responses from any quartets in the Mountain Division. There were some from Granite and Pine, some from Yankee, and some from Patriot. So before we talk about that, let me go to the choruses. I got responses from 23 choruses. Of the 23, 11 said they were planning to come. Whoops. Yep, 11. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that normally we would expect to come, or at least I would expect to come, but are not. Oh, there's more than that, but are not coming. The new mixed chorus out of Manchester is decided not to come only because they only rehearse monthly and they just have no rehearsal time. So they won't be coming. Green Mountain it would not be coming. They said they're not prepared. They have too few singers and masking takes the fun out of coming to a convention. Natick Sound Assembly said they wouldn't be coming only because they only have 3 parts. They have 1 tenor and the tenor won't go anywhere because of COVID. Waterbury Derby, I mean, we're going to see the impact here COVID had on this. Waterbury Derby, probably not coming, might come as a VLQ because they only have 10 singers now at a rehearsal. Cape Cod is not coming, just not enough time to get ready. They didn't start rehearsals until the end of last month. Central Connecticut, not coming. They just don't have enough members. They get like 8 at a rehearsal. And Nashua is probably not coming because they've had a change in their director. And their new director is not a barbershopper, so there's going to be a learning curve there. So those are the ones that I would have expected might come who aren't coming. And again, like the quartets, nobody from Sunrise, which we didn't expect, and nobody from Mountain Division. I did reach out to all of the choruses that were in the 2019 fall contest and also the 2019 spring contest. They're in this group. They're either a yes or a no. Figuring that those were probably the ones that we would see. So my guess is almost everybody told me that they're going to be operating with fewer members. Some of the choruses that we normally expect to see with 35 on stage, they're talking about 20. So my best guess is that we might get 235 attendees out of the choruses. And then if you add in the 16 or 20 or so from the quartets extra who aren't in the choruses, we're talking about roughly 250 attendees. Again, the reason for not coming, two of them directly because of COVID. One, which is NADEC, COVID only because their tenor won't come out. Couple of them commented on the distance. Can't help them. Worcester's in the middle of the district. Several of them, Coastal Chordsmen, they're mixed chorus, Coastal Harmony, just said they're not going to be competing anymore. One of them that responded was a Canadian chorus. He said no travel to the United States. And again, most of it was because they just didn't have enough time or change in director. So those would be the numbers that I think we could see. And what I found interesting, because I spoke to not everybody, but some of the ones that responded, especially the ones concerned about COVID, pretty much got a response from all of them that if we held a convention where everybody had to be vaccinated, they'd probably come and they get more people to come. They have a lot of people who are not coming, who are concerned that they'll be in a group like that with people who might not be vaccinated. And some of the people that are not coming from the choruses just don't want to take that chance. One of the choruses told me they're getting 28, 29 people at a rehearsal, but they'd be lucky to get 18 to 20 to go to the convention because they're all vaccinated and they don't want to be somewhere where people are not. So the impression I got from the quartets and the choruses that said yes is they'd all really like to have the convention. The ones that said yes. And we probably, we could count on a few more quartets to get us up probably close to 20. I do know, so I think we need to really seriously, there's obviously a lot of people who are more comfortable now and are willing to do this if things don't get worse. Obviously this whole thing could shut down by action of Massachusetts or Worcester State University, and we have no control over that. But I think I think some of them really want to kind of make this thing work. I can tell you that our entire judging panel is vaccinated. That I know. And so I personally would like us to seriously consider changing what we did last time and just making this convention for vaccinated members of the district only.
All right, thank you, Alan. Well, I think first off, before we take that point, let's talk about 250 roughly attending.
That's 250 competitors. Mike.
Competitors.
Correct. So that doesn't mean, if that might mean on average, another 100 or so. Maybe.
Yeah.
So if we're in that 325 to 350 attendees, if you will, you could look at it one way. You could look at it like we've never done that before. The other way you could look at it is I've been to Senecaland conventions many times, and they'd love to have 350 attendees. So it's not like we couldn't hold the convention. I think that I'm relatively positive about the number of potential attendees. That said, as Alan mentioned, it could change at any moment. But I would like us to proceed with the discussion that the perception is that Alan got, that a lot of people want this to continue. I think that was one of the reasons we held the Harmony College Northeast this weekend when we debated that, was because we wanted to show that we were continuing and we were here. So I think that's a very valid argument. Is there anybody that thinks, not discussing the vaccine part at this point,
right,
but just with the numbers first, does anybody have a different feeling like, oh, we can't possibly have only 325 people, let's cancel? Yes, Mark.
it doesn't really, I raised my hand before you finished your sentence, and I'm not really going to answer that perfectly. New England Harmony Brigade had at its height about 98 attendees coming, fully vaccinated. We're seeing attrition of 1 or 2 people a day in the last week or so of people who say they're not coming anyway. So there is, depending on the ground truth in late October, commitments made now are probably not 100% firm.
Yeah, I appreciate your comment, although I don't think hard to relate a bunch of people getting together to sing in mixed quartets all weekend versus going to a convention masked, sitting in an auditorium and listening to their favorite groups and cheering them on.
Yeah.
You know,
It's not 1 for 1. I agree with you.
yeah. David,
I defer to John. He had his hand up first.
I didn't start.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to comment a little bit on the financial side of things. I was a big proponent of going ahead with HC&E because I think, you know why. I made that clear. But that's a little bit different situation in that there was no real sunk cost associated with that. District is significantly different. And I'm not advocating against having it, but I think we need to do it understanding that the lowest number of participants we've had, competitors we've had in the last 8 on-site conventions was about 406. And that that was about 200 attendees beyond that. So we're talking a significantly fewer number of competitors than the lowest we've had in the last 7 years. And that obviously will have some financial impact. I would guess and hope that maybe we'll have more attendees than we did in that year, because I mean, I know Nashua is not going as a chorus, but we're encouraging everybody to go as individuals. We want to participate, we're just not ready to compete. And I don't know how many others like that are out there, but if we do make the decision to go ahead, unless we can find ways to cut costs, we will be in the red for this event. And again, I'm not arguing against it, but we need to do that with our eyes open.
Hey, John, what's the break-even point roughly of attendees?
Well, in the year that I cited, where we had 406 competitors and 200 attendees, we lost money. But that was also a very high expense convention. So I would suggest that the break even is probably around 300 competitors and 100 to 150 attendees. But I'd need to really get a computer or pencil and paper out to give you a firm answer.
Okay, David.
John, along those lines, there was talk about maybe opening up the cafeteria, blah, blah, blah. As far as cutting our costs, is there a way that we can cut it down, pare it down a little bit so that we're not on the hook as a district and put more of it on the individuals?
Well, no, because a large part of the cost is the venue itself, the sound and lighting, the recording, the judges,
Yep.
transportation and rooms, the event team's rooms, and some small amount of travel. So those are the big ones that, unless we can find a way to operate with fewer events team or fewer judges, are really not all that much under our control at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I thought about that, John. And I kind of sprung from it from my thinking about the awards. And I don't think we're gonna, for example, really have a most improved chorus or quartet in any category. I think we're all going in with the understanding that it just won't be at the quality it was. And if we're gonna do that, we need to think about things like, let's not do recordings. And save the money for that, because I don't think anybody's ever gonna look back except anecdotally as how bad we sang in the fall of 2021.
Yeah, and Alan, what about the panel? Do we
Yeah,
have,
I gotta sit down and figure it out, Mike. The panel is, we're limited by the software program. So I'm gonna look at it. We may cut back on some of the awards. If we don't get anybody, and I'm not saying we should advocate for this, from Mountain, and we never counted on anybody from Sunrise, we might be able to cut CAs back to 2, which would save us probably about $2,500.
that's significant.
It
And
is.
what about the recording number, John? What is that? What do we normally spend to bring Mike up or whoever?
Off the top of my head, I want to say somewhere around $2,000, $2,500. I would defer to Steve though to find out, because he's the one who's the biggest advocate of getting all this stuff recorded. Do you have an opinion?
Well, we could certainly, we can come up with an alternative. It might require a small investment initially, but maybe that's something we can amortize over a bunch of years. I think having Mike Kelly come in could easily be, I would say probably about $2,000 total. Oh, and actually more with accommodations. So if you pull all that out, it'll be a little less. Yeah. So a little more.
So we're talking about if we could cut a couple CAs and if we could cut the video, we could save close to $5,000 right there. Mark, you're waving?
Yeah, as a participant, if we cut the recording, that makes the event less interesting because I can't see what I did. I can do what I did, but for ages afterwards, I enjoy watching what I did. It would change the complexion of the event for me. I don't know if I'm a unique person.
So my answer to that is that we would not do Mike Kelly. We would look for something alternative that's very little cost. It might be an inconvenience from the standpoint you're not going to get it that night or within the next week or two. It could be a lot longer. It is a lot more work for me or for whomever is going to be driving that. But we'll come up with something. We're not going to go in there not recording.
Thank you.
Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a big difference between the quality that we've been getting from Mike Kelly and a stationary camera in the middle of the auditorium that is just kind of recording for posterity, that people can have it like Mark is talking about. I guess I would defer to Doug since he's on the line here. And do you feel that Sunrise would be, and Brandon, between the two of you, you think that that's pretty clear that none of them will be at this point, unless something changes dramatically, no one would be participating?
I can't picture that at this point in time, anybody from here would be ready to go or would go. And unless things clear up on your side of the fence really quickly, we aren't allowed to go.
Yeah, I understand.
We can't cross the border until September the 21st is the earliest. And my guess is that it'll be extended again at least another month. So there was no way we could go, anybody from here.
We're also on the verge, I think, of the Atlantic bubble popping again. New Brunswick is seeing 20, 30,
Yes.
40 cases a day. And Nova Scotia is seeing maybe 3 to 8. So we're getting up there for what our comfort level is. Now that might seem like a small number, but our government freaks out at 2. So we're probably going to be closing down. Newfoundland has removed masks, and so has New Brunswick, and so has PEI. We're the only ones still clinging to them. And I'll still cling to mine long after they remove them. But yeah, it's a weird situation here right now.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing something and you guys say, wait, we're,
I mean, there are a few people here that would like to go, not to compete necessarily, but like to go, but it's
Yeah,
not-
the
it's
the
not
usual
gonna be-
suspects.
Yeah, that's fine. Diane, what about Mountain? Any feelings about that? We missing anything there, or is it, that's pretty much the way it is?
No, I think that's pretty much the way it is. I know Pittsfield went back to Zooming. I know Burlington just recently took a vote and they at first were planning on it, but now they're not. And don't, for every reason that was said,
Okay.
aren't going. Saratoga, same issue. Schenectady. So I'm pretty sure that it is, yeah.
Okay, so I think we could certainly take that thought that Alan had about no Mountain, no Sunrise, and cut back on the CAs. What about the rest of the panel, Alan? You're talking about a double panel. Right.
We have to, because it's a senior quartet and chorus international prelim.
Right, but you're not talking triple, you're talking double panel, right?
That's all we were anyway, yeah.
Right. And is there any extravagance? Are we bringing in Hank from Hawaii or anything
No,
else?
it doesn't matter this year where they're coming from. This is the first year that they're doing
Oh,
the
that's right.
average flat rate for everybody. So if we got everybody, every judge from the NED, we're still gonna pay as much as the guys that are up in Newfoundland and bring everybody in from Hawaii.
Okay, that's right. I forgot about that. Yes, David.
Right.
Okay, Diane, I just read your report. Saratoga Springs, it says here, we plan to compete this fall.
Okay, they may have changed their mind.
I'm sorry?
They may have changed their mind.
Oh, since you got this information?
Yeah,
Okay,
I can double check and let you and Alan know, like, tomorrow, if
Yeah.
not tonight.
okay. Thank you.
And if we only get one from a division like that, we can fix that. We can lump them in with, for example, with Yankee, knowing that they're the only one, and that whatever categories they're competing in, they're going to win, and we don't even have to. They'll just get a score, and then win whatever. If it's only one, doesn't matter to the judges.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, anybody else have a feeling one way or the other? I like the idea of the saving of the two areas of pretty good amounts of money. I think, John, if you're able to put a pencil to that, or feel comfortable with those numbers we're bantering about of 2,500 and 2,500, that, you know, a $5,000 savings could put us not too far in the red if we do go in the red. I'm looking for a very general comment.
Okay. Give me a minute.
All right, let's talk about Marshall's hairstyle that he's changed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
David, go
he
ahead.
has a hair.
Yeah.
So I would say, again, don't hold me to this. I could use a little time to do a more refined number, but we're looking, right now, we have budgeted $30,000 of revenues. And I'm guessing with the numbers that we just talked about, that's probably going to be more like 23 to 25. Our expenses at this point are budgeted at 33. So if we cut that by 5, we're at 28. We're looking at a loss, or an expense, I should say, for the event of about $5,000.
Okay. David, go ahead.
We always talk about for the good of the district, and I think at this point, with from what Alan has said, it's not as it's more difficult for people to compete. It isn't that they don't want to, but I think that we would be a beacon in the darkness from a lot of the other districts that are canceling, that for lack of interest. I think that that's not our problem. If we're worried about losing maybe $10,000, I don't know. Can we afford to do that to keep moving forward? And I
We
say,
have,
I
we
say,
have a
yes.
reserve fund that's intended for that type of thing.
I say yes, let's go ahead.
So yes, we can afford to, in the short term.
Yeah.
Longer
Um,
term. But I think the argument you're making, David, is that not having the event may hurt us more in the longer term than not having the event. And if we believe that, as a collective group, I would say it's an investment we need to make in the future.
Bob, did we miss anything on your end from a venue standpoint? Are we, if things stay the way they are right now and we are able to continue, no big hurdles in the way, right?
As of last week, I spoke with Worcester State, and when we were up there and they gave us the rules and regulations, they're going under the same thing right now. So we're okay with the hotels. They're holding the rooms until September 29th. And Worcester, we're all safe with that. It's the same thing about wearing masks. The auditorium is filtered. The same as when we were up there. The requirements have not changed at this point.
No change at all. So I think the next major hurdle for us to discuss is Alan's last comment about do we want to, as a board, put in the vaccine thing? Ed, go ahead. Get muted, Ed.
No, just a thought. Out of the contest that we're going to be running, we do have a chorus prelim, right, for international. Is that right, Alan?
That's correct.
And a seniors quartet prelim, right?
Yeah, but before you go on, let's be realistic about this. Vocal Revolution has already qualified to sing in Charlotte.
Right.
Anybody else who qualify has to achieve the minimum qualifying score, which I believe they're going to hold this year at 76. Given the lack of rehearsals, the odds of anybody else in this district scoring 76 is minuscule.
My thoughts were, I don't know what the situation is as far as fall conventions are in Seneca Land or in Mid-Atlantic, and I was wondering if it was a possibility to get some senior quartets from either of those districts who might want to qualify for international or midwinter.
We might get seniors, yep.
Yeah, because Seneca Land has canceled their convention.
Correct.
Okay, or maybe a course if they're willing to come over. If they again,
could be.
They might feel the same way, that there's no way they could qualify on score. But it was just a thought. That's all. I wasn't sure, but it would increase our numbers a little bit.
I would certainly send out an invitation to the district through their DRCJ.
Yeah. Mark, to answer your question about district president council, that we now have 6 districts out of the 17 that have canceled. It's not saying that more couldn't happen tomorrow, but right now we have 6 that have canceled, including Seneca Land, our neighbors, and Ontario, our other neighbor.
You might get or you won't get seniors from Ontario. They can't get.
Well, they might. Who knows by then? But probably not. Yeah,
Sure,
probably. All right. Can we go to the vaccine question?
Mike?
Yes, Bob.
Speaking to that, we were going to cancel a performance we had this afternoon. We have 13 musicians coming over from the New York Philharmonic who just were leaving while I was on the thing. They did the concert. We required everyone to be vaccinated, and basically we had no problem. And the performers actually preferred it, and they had asked that we not allow anyone in who were not vaccinated. And it worked fine. We got an audience, everybody was happy. The performers were absolutely wonderful. They did Mozart, and it reminded me of the Gas House game.
That's really interesting, because that's what I was going to suggest, that all the competing quartets do Mozart.
There you go. Not Stravinsky.
But it worked out. We've been having, anytime we do indoor events or indoor concerts, we've been requiring everyone to be vaccinated. Our art classes, we've been turning away people who are not vaccinated. It's a very low percentage. And of course, I'm outside of New York City. I don't know what it's like in New England.
Right. Well, I know that, as someone that has to do the news every day and write it and report it, I have definitely seen a big switch from a month ago where people are saying, we got to allow them to, one institution after the other saying, nope, you got to show proof of vaccination. Nope, you got to show all the government in Rhode Island, all the healthcare, all the hospitals, all the schools, all the colleges are all now going with showing proof of vaccination or doctors, exemption. Things have tightened up dramatically. I'm not proposing that necessarily. I'm just saying that there's a big change from what it was the last time we talked as a group to what's happening now. Doug, you had your hand up.
Yeah, and the same thing is happening here in Canada. You can't get on a train here in Canada unless you have proof of double vaccination. And buses and airplanes and federal workers, everybody, or if they don't get vaccinated, they get laid off. It's just as simple as that.
And not every province has a way to prove that you're vaccinated. Some
Yeah.
places they were just putting it in arms and not giving anybody anything afterwards to say that they were vaccinated. So
Yeah.
Well, does anybody want to say that we should just go with vaccinations? Alan, is that kind of the way you were leaning?
It is.
Yeah.
John?
Yeah, the only comment I have on that is I'm a big proponent of data-driven analysis, and we have data to suggest that some people would come if we required that.
Yes.
My question would be, are we going to lose any of those who said they're going to come if we require it? And I don't think we know the answer to that, but just we ought to be aware there's some potential for some of those we just counted in the 250 not to come because of that.
Anecdotally, John, I can tell you from my conversations with people, a lot, I can't say all of them, but a lot of the ones I talked to told me their choruses are 100% vaccinated.
Yeah, I don't know if Mark was first or David. I couldn't.
Oh, I like David better. Call him first.
Well, my expectation, and as a seasoned competitor, is I'm comfortable with my chorus being fully vaccinated to gather together, even though we had to wear masks Thursday night because of the local municipal requirement. But that's my comfort, and I would be suspicious of anybody attending the convention who was not vaccinated. That's my comfort level, and I think that I don't know how else to say it without starting to get really negative and saying bad things about those people that don't want to get vaccinated. But we're talking about my well-being and my comfort level. And I would be very uncomfortable if there was anybody there who was not fully vaccinated.
David, aren't you still just a baritone though, or did you
I
switch
am. I
parts?
still am a baritone, but I've been doing great singing bass for the last 20 years. So,
Oh, okay. All right.
but I'm still a baritone. Yes.
Does someone want to put that? Oh, Mark, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. I don't, again, it's not one for one, but we were early at New England Harmony Brigade in demanding vaccinations. I got very little pushback from people. When we polled our people back in the spring, 80% said they preferred vaccine only at that time. And sentiment, as you say, Mike, has changed strongly. And very little pushback. When we did actually demand proof of vaccinations, we discovered 2 people, I believe, who were prepared to lie to us and just show up. But when I demanded the paper in advance, they withdrew. So you may have that concern as well. But judging from that information, we were able to get a lot of singers without a lot of fuss.
Alan, do you want to,
I'll
You
make
wanna
that
make-
in, I'll make that into a formal motion that we revise the protocols to make them such that we will only allow attendance by fully vaccinated people.
proof of?
Proof of.
And by that, you mean competitors and
And
attendees.
audience. Yep.
Looking for a second
I would.
everywhere. I got a second ever. Someone, a third someone. All
Come on,
right,
it's a barber. Come on, you need a fourth. It's barbershop, man.
Wait, yeah, who was the
Well, no,
second?
you
Set?
need a
Who was?
fifth.
Because I just got to write it down.
Your fifth.
Sings- And they're singing the flat seven.
Yeah. Glenn, you picked a couple people, you all set?
No, who pick one for me? Who wants to second?
Mike Savard. We'll
Okay.
go with the highest office that can do it.
So, University District will revise the protocols to require that all performers and attendees prove vaccination status to attend the convention.
Correct.
Given the wording of that, we're gonna require proof. So what do we have in mind for doing so?
I don't know. Mike put the words in my mouth. I don't know.
Well, I mean, if that's not what we mean, then maybe we ought to reword it.
What we did is you had to send a picture to someone, but that means someone has to go and collect them all. That's what we did for our chorus. You know? That's what
Yeah,
NEHB did.
Do we do the tickets through Eventbrite for this?
Yes.
It may be possible to upload the picture of the vaccine card while you're doing the ticket purchasing. We just did that for another event.
Let's time out. Instead of trying to figure out how we're gonna do it, let's take one thing at a time.
Well, I think it's only important, Mike, if we don't think we have a means of doing it, then maybe we ought to reword the motion.
Well, couldn't a person that registers, and I'm going back in time to when we went to showing IDs and membership cards to get your registration. I remember when Jeff Foreman was doing that, he was beating people over the head for their membership card and made them show an ID and everything back in the day. Isn't there a way we can just say you pick up your registration card, you show your paper
Hey,
in
Mike,
order to get your registration?
Mike,
Yes, Bob.
an easy way, I think an easy way to do that would be as we check membership too. If we get the chorus secretary or one person in the chorus, I know we had to turn in our vaccination cards to our secretary, who kept them all on, file to make sure everybody was vaccinated. If they have those things with them when they go to contests, let the chapters and let the quartets do their work and come up with the fact of, here's the papers, here's the copies of the things that all of our, the vaccination cards from our chorus members, and here's their membership, and to verify it. It would take, we can verify that as the events.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why, if we have a motion, why we have to show how we're going to implement it to pass the motion versus.
Because you need to know you can, Mike.
Well, I think there's plenty of low tech and high tech ways that we could do it. I don't think there's any reason why we couldn't.
So Dan Falcone has volunteered to check everybody's. Oh no, he just got here. Brandon, go ahead. I think you were first.
My only concern with that is personal information and having that. I don't know how much information is on your vaccination reports. In Canada, it has all of your health card info and everything else, depending on the province.
No, this is a simple name. I'm not even sure the address is on there.
Birth date's
on there. But then that's not an issue. So I'll step back from that.
Okay, Mark, again.
So we had to look at this very, very carefully. Under US law, there's no problem with demanding it. And there's no problem with keeping it. We're pretty loose. As Canada discovers to its sorrow, America's pretty loose about every damn thing. I'll tell you, Mike, that when we talked about this, first of all, we had a tremendous amount of trouble extracting this information from people, even after they insisted that they had to provide it themselves. I ended up with the last 5 people having to make personal phone calls and telling them, if you decide to do it at the door, you're going to have to deal with the fact that people will want to come in anyway, or if a quartet shows up and their baritone, because it would be the baritone, left their card at home, what are they going to do? Or if their director left their card at home, what are they going to do? It's not that it's impossible to do it in one way or the other. It is a stupendous amount of workload.
David,
I think if on the Eventbrite registration, if you give the option or a declaration and say, yes, I am fully vaccinated, blah, 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 click yes, and you keep moving forward. If you click no, I say, sorry, you need to be fully vaccinated to register for this event.
but that doesn't show, all you're doing is taking their word.
Do
Well,
you want an attestation or proof that we have
Well,
to change the motion?
but we're seeing people that are lying all now, but I don't know that you can avoid that, but because you can get a counterfeit vaccination card very easily now. So it comes down to somebody's word, and I think, and if we put it in those terms, people will either get vaccinated or they won't attend. It's my guess.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. And the motion that we didn't have before that was that we're gonna have a convention. Which I guess probably would have been the right thing to do. But we have a motion, we have a second, we've had some discussion. One more time, Glenn, can you give us your interpretation of that motion?
Yes, I added some more specifics. So Northeast District shall revise the protocols to require that all performers and attendees prove their COVID-19 vaccination status in order to attend the fall 2021 convention.
That okay with you, Alan?
That's fine.
And Mike as second?
Yep.
Okay. All those in favor of that motion, please say aye and show a signal. All right, aye and show a signal. Okay, and anyone that is opposed to that motion? Did I miss? It's hard to see. Was anyone abstaining? John is the only abstention. Okay. Okay, that motion passes. I guess it would be a little redundant, but I guess we probably, I guess we don't need a motion to have say the convention is going to be on, because it was already planned to be on. Am I right there? We're not canceling it, so then we don't need a motion.
Correct.
Okay. Alan, do you have anything else from your end that you need?
No, sir. Now I can write my report for Glenn.
Okay. And we'd also be able to stick to our original plan of opening John and Scott and Steve on the website for a week from tomorrow.
Yep.
I'm not sure. You'll have to ask the new registrar.
Say again, John, please.
Huh? You'll have to ask the new registrar.
Okay, I didn't understand what you said. Sorry.
And who is that?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I went in today to start the process of loading the convention for this year so that it would be ready a week from now. And it was already pre-loaded. So I have no idea who did it or why, but I would say somebody else apparently is taking over that role.
John, so
Yeah.
you're directing that at me?
I'm trying not to, but yeah. Did you copy last year's to create the new
I
one?
just resurrected the draft from last year. That's all I did, and I already put the logo in it for you. That's all I did. Everything else
Well,
had
I
old dates.
appreciate that, but. All right. Yeah, so it does need to be updated, Steve, just for future reference. If you could alert me when you do that, I would appreciate it. So yes, I can get that done by next week.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Alan. Is there anything else that we need to cover on the convention itself tonight before we have our regular meeting next Sunday night?
I go back to the discussion we just had. We need to assign somebody to figure out how we're going to handle the motion we just passed.
All right, can I task us all to come up with a plan for next Sunday? If someone has an idea, they want to send an email to me. So that next Sunday we can come up with that plan. That'll be part of, I'll put that on the agenda. Still be obviously in time. They don't know have to know how it'll be implemented before next Sunday. Do we need to know that? Or
No, but we do before we have the convention, and
Yeah.
right.
And if it
From the
involves
sound-
Eventbrite,
from-
we probably
well,
need to know.
from the sounds of the discussion so far, it's going to get dumped on the registrar's desk. And I think that needs to be well thought out before I'm willing
Okay. I agree. We don't, so I'm not looking to dump anything else on you.
sign Michelle and no, and again, my point is not about me. It's
Uh-oh.
just that it needs
John,
to be thought through, and we need to be by Sunday.
Okay, you broke up for part of what you were saying to me. I don't know if anybody else had a problem.
Yeah, I
did.
didn't hear him.
You all heard him? Okay.
No.
No, we did not. Okay, try again,
Okay.
John.
I don't think it needs to be decided by next Sunday how to do it, but we need to be committed to having a plan in place such that it can be done in a reasonable fashion and not have everything put on one group or subgroup
Yeah.
of the convention. So we just
Mike
need
is-
to be committed to doing that.
Mike is waving his hand.
Yeah, I'm happy to lead a task force of some sort to figure out this strategy and how we're going to implement it.
Okay, and Alan, are you saying yes to him?
I'll work with him
Work with
because
him.
it may
Okay.
require communication with the competitors, so.
Okay,
I'm okay
Yeah.
helping Mountain Division because if I only have one, they're in my back door and I can easily get, or should be easily, to get copies or something from your secretary attesting that everybody has been vaccinated that's going. So.
well, let's leave it with Mike for now, Diane, because then you still have the problem of the attendees. You're talking about wives, friends, family, other people that might attend, so we need all of that to be incorporated in it.
Okay.
Thank you, though. Anybody else have anything? I want to try to keep this to an hour. Well, thank you all for taking this extra time. And once again, I want to thank Brandon as the head of yesterday for doing a great job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gail is
Thanks.
clapping in the background.
Thanks to the people that helped me, because really I didn't do much.
All right, everyone, stay safe and let's see. I guess nothing we said here is secret. There's nothing wrong with sharing it with your chapters or division managers. We have some of the division managers here. Thank you for attending.
Steve, I'll send you something tonight you can post up on the website.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Thank you all and see you next Sunday, same time, same station.
Ta-ta.
Hey, Mike and
Bye-bye.
Alan,
Thank you.
Mike and Alan, could you hold on for just a second?
Oh,